shoot, I got these lying around everywhere, dude.
I mean, it seemed pretty light.
Yeah, it's like less than a pound.
Okay.
Half the size of my hand. Slips into a vest. It's like a sports bra wearable, right here. And then we do heart rate integration too within the vest. So now you get instant heart rate data, talking about heart rate variability, energy systems, get a chance to see what that looks like too. Now you're approaching conditioning with that. You ask, we always ask football coaches, especially when we start like our consulting conversation, like, what is conditioning? What's the definition of conditioning to you? And they're like, just gassing my players out, just wearing them out, and it's like, all right, well, there it is.
Right. Any fool can make another fool tired, man. It's like,
exactly, bro. Exactly. So then you get into like, okay, well, and that's why the GPS becomes super valuable, because now you have, when we look at football, right, you got your bigs, your linemen, right? You got your big skill guys that are your linebackers, right? And then you got like your skill guys that are your receivers and your DBs and stuff, right? And it's like their numbers all look so different. It's like, and then high school, you got guys going two ways, and it's like, well, now that you have, so you're going to always continuously have your 40 to 50, 60 snap guys that are going to be in the red when it comes to like workload. And you're always going to have those 20, 10 snap guys, third down guys that are going to come in and be down here. Right. And then it's a matter of bridging that gap in the training week so that we don't have these athletes continue to stay up here and we don't have these athletes continue to stay down here. Right.
Have you always been in California?
I spent some time in Arizona, but for the most part, like all the
stuff in Cali.
Yeah.
Where is McLloyd out of?
French company, based out of Miami, and then I cover the West Coast. But yeah.
Okay. And then so you do a whole bunch of teams, right? So do you have like a hub in which you're actually doing every single piece of training, or are you more like a traveler going around and
Yeah, right. So right now, the majority of the coaches currently that use McLloyd are private sector performance coaches, just because we've allowed coaches to purchase a small set of maybe like 5 units that they can use with a handful of athletes, with as many athletes as they'd like. And those are easy. We have conversations like this. We send them units to test out. We run through onboardings most of the time like this. They get acclimated to the system. It's really up to that coach to see how proactive he'll be with the system. And then when it comes to teams, most of the time I like to spend a week with the team because I can gather a week's worth of data. I don't know if you want me to show you what that looks like. I was just recently with a
Yeah, we can.
And I'll just kind of show you what the let me pull it up first before I share my screen. But usually for the teams, I'd like to spend a week's worth of I'd like to spend a week out there with them. That way it could give me enough data to collect to show them what their training week looked like, essentially, and then that gives us a good gauge to get a feel for the PTs, for the head coaches, give them an opportunity to see, what this data looks like, what it can offer. It's really interesting to see how different a lot of these different schools and programs run everything that they do, then you can make better decisions on understanding like, okay, when I do this kind of training session, this is the output we get from it, right? When I do this exercise or this specific drill, what's the difference between doing it for 10 minutes opposed to 5 minutes or 10 minutes opposed to 20 minutes, right? So, and this is just, we can pull this stuff from anywhere. You could run it on spreadsheets. If you have a back-end system, Power BI, whatever, we can integrate with all that stuff too. This is just showing you like from basically Monday to Sunday averages amongst the group. We'll typically look at distance covered as a whole. We'll look at high speed running above 10 miles an hour. We'll look at tempo as a good gauge of like the intensity of the session. Excels versus decels, changes of direction, sprints above it'll categorize a sprint as anything above 13 miles an hour. And then max speed, load, look at some step imbalances and collisions if they want to see that. This is kind of like, just showing us, this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday game day. And then we'll look at same thing, accels versus decels. So we could see for the most part, right, Thursday and Sunday game day were their most intensive. That's where they saw their highest workloads when it comes to accels and decels. We'll look at total distance versus sprint distance, right? So for the most part during the week, they got about 262 yards of high speed running on Monday, 311 yards of high speed running Tuesday, 212 Wednesday, 295 Thursday, 233 Friday, and then 50 Saturday. And then game day, they saw close to 613. Max speed as well too. It's just good to see on average, like it's easier for teams to look at averages opposed to individuals, just because it just makes it easier for everyone. But I think definitely having a gauge on understanding why we look at these different things, and this is typically just kind of what we'll share. But ideally you would like to go daily reports, weekly reports, those kind of things. Like this was a game day. I want to show you this just because you'll be able to see kind of like the differences in what these athletes see. We'll go into like game day averages, looking at duration, distance, same thing that we kind of just went over. This will be like the breakdown of what that game looked like. This is just directly exported from the McLloyd software. And then we'll look at we'll pull up some visuals like, okay, player load. What did that look like? We see this athlete she had a 7,000 player load, right? Some athletes didn't see anything. They were at 1,000, right? It was probably just them warming up that they got this load from. We'll look at accels, decels, same thing. This player got 209 and 198. Some players got 42, 40. Like it's night and day, right? With some of these athletes based off position, based off playing time. There's a lot of different factors that go into this. And then same thing with like your high speed running. Even though we saw the average was 613 yards, this athlete got about 1,500 yards of high speed running. So it's a big gap between the average and the individual, Same thing with max speed. We had one athlete hit 17.8. The average was 14.1. But, for us, like say going into the next training week, I wouldn't advise this athlete to hit top speed any day that week. She just hit it during the game. Same thing with Aniela or Taylor, but everyone else could probably be okay with ramping it up. Most likely you like to go 2 or 3 days past game day. And then you're just throwing some game day overviews. And then eventually you can get into throwing in some practice plan suggestions.
That's very interesting, man. And I think it's way more beneficial. I mean, in terms of just a strength and conditioning coach, maxing, let's suppose once every 3 weeks. Let's see how much you can lift, and just that's so easy to do, right? Is just tell somebody to lift as much as they can.
Yeah.
But with this, like you're saying, there's a lot of gray area with, are you hitting top speed? If you hit top speed, we don't need to hit top speed that following week or whatever, because central nervous system needs to recuperate. You already hit it. We're fine. But man, again, it's like why people aren't seeing this like they should, right? Yeah. And there's people out here doing the dirty work without being, again, quote unquote, certified or whatever you believe to be the right answer is through a test that's organized by a corporation, right? And there's people doing the right things out here.
Yeah, man. And that's all. For me, man, it's all. I've always said it's like, for me, it goes back to value, right? How much value can I provide? That's one of the things that I've always felt with McLloyd I was able to do. I could place myself in any setting and provide value, you know? And up until the point where I feel like that's not happening, then I may make a shift. I may not. But right now, I get the opportunity to have conversations like this with coaches all across the world and give them an opportunity to place themselves in that position to provide that amount of value if they allow themselves to, right? And then with the athletes, it's just fun, man. Like I'm the type of person that likes to make these settings engaging. I'm a firm believer in, if I can show an athlete progress, that they're going to feed into and buy into what it is that we're doing. So if I can show a kid that he went from running 15 to running 18 in 4 months, he's going to see it in the playing field. The parents are going to see it, and he's going to keep, he's going to trust the process. But then there come those times too, man, where I've had a kid who's been, it's tough. It's easy to get a kid from 15 to 17. It's hard to get a kid from 22 to 23.
Yep.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when you start getting into all those crazy graphs and figuring out, where the imbalances are and where you may need to target.
And you'll be surprised how many people are literally stuck in like the 60s with just, it's like, wake up, right?
Yeah.
Like we have this stuff.
Exactly.
It's not to our benefit because it's more work for us. It really is. But it's to the benefit of the people we're trying to make better.
Yeah.
And if you have that access to it, why not use it? Like, get out of your own ways, innovate, recognize we're in 2024, and give these people and these athletes the best experience possible.
That's all it is.
And I love what you're doing. So they're able to wear it on game day?
Yeah, man. Football players, they got built-in little pouches in the pockets. That
is crazy.
We got our coaches because we tack collisions too, right? Like, we got some of our coaches, Coach LaChapelle down in LA. He made his own pockets, but typically my guys, they wear the vests under their pads. Soccer players, I'm sure you've seen it. They take their shirt off. They're wearing a little sports bra. People don't know what it is, but that's like every professional when it comes to NFL, MLS, higher division soccer, rugby specifically. It's been big forever. Like professional teams, it's almost standard and mandated because now you're talking about millions of dollars. And if I expose this athlete to one too many sprints, could be the difference between him being out for 8 weeks or him being healthy during the season, right? So it's like player load management is a key. That's a big thing we always preach is awareness is key. Keeping guys healthy is what we're looking for. And, having data and numbers to back that up allows us to bridge that gap.
Yeah. And I don't think any of this works without seeing and allowing them to have it on game day.
Yeah.
Because it really is like, you can do all the training and stuff, but when are you performing at your best, at your most, competitive nature, firing? If you didn't have that, it'd be hard. And it's amazing that they're allowing, are they doing that in the high schools?
Yeah.
Okay,
High schools.
yeah.
We got a good amount of high schools wearing it.